What was the best investment in 2018? Well, surprisingly, if you held US dollars for 2018, it was one of the best investments because markets didn't actually rise for the first time in 9 years. Now, 2017, what was one of the best investments? Well, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies were one of the best investments. 2015, it was China and some emerging markets did very well, at least part of the year. But then, of course, in other years, they did very badly. We could go on and on. The point is, nobody knows what the best investment of 2019 could be. There's so many unknown unknowns and known unknowns. It could literally be anything. It could be cash again. It could be market in Colombia. It could be certain coins. It could be pretty much anything. That's irrelevant because nobody can predict that, right? If everyone could predict based on publicly available information what the best investment in 2019 or 2020 is going to be, everyone would be rich, right? I mean, Warren Buffett is the third richest person in the world, and he's the richest investor ever, but he has only, in inverted commas, gotten 20% a year for 75 years. If it was so easy to know beforehand which investments were going to perform well, then actually, quite frankly, everyone would actually be wealthier than Buffett, or most people. You wouldn't need much capital even to get wealthy if you're getting 30% a year. So I would say don't care what are going to be the best investments in 2019. Focus on what's going to be the best investment or what's likely to be the best investment from 2019 all the way through to 2049 or 2059. Always focus on the long term. That is the key to investing. As a final point also, I would make another point, and that's that actually, rationally speaking, an investor should want slightly lower returns when they start investing. It sounds ridiculous, but it's true. Now let's take two investors. Investor one gets 15% a year for the first 15 years, then they get 2% a year for the next 15 years. Investor 2 gets 1 or 2% for the first 15 years, but then they get 11% for the next 15 years. So in other words, from years 16 to 30, they get more, right? Whereas investor 1 gets more from years 1 to 15. Guess who will make more money? Investor 2. Why? Think about it, right? Because once the account has compounded more, the higher returns are always better later on. Whereas investor 1 is getting very high returns early on, but think about it, 15% of $50,000 isn't a lot of money, whereas investor 2 is getting the returns when the account is worth more. But if you ask most people, who would you prefer to be, investor 1 or investor 2? Most people would say they would prefer investor 1 because it feels nicer to get returns, good returns in the first year. But actually, rationally speaking, if you invest in 2019 and the markets are stagnant or falling or just going up by 3, 4, 5% for 5 or 10 years, you should actually be happy about that, but you should never try to market time. Okay, everyone, I hope that was useful.